we first go with the introduction, where we introduce the particles, and then we also go with the line from the text, which talks about the introduction of the particles. And afterwards, the second thing we discuss is since these particles that we are currently discussing are known as dependent particles. So since these are dependent particles, one thing that I think I've already announced it before, once we're done with the portion of dependent particles, we will have a test for the portion that begins from the introduction to the basic sound. It begins from the verse of worship, and then to the point of the last dependent particle, we'll have an exam to see how much everyone has comprehended, understood about this particular text. And yes, so since this is a dependent particle, so what happens when it's a dependent particle? It is that it has something called the usage or association based on the suffix letter. So that is something that happens as we understand this. So today we're going to discuss this very portion, which is the association based on suffix letter. So inclusive and ornamental particles associated based on the suffix letter. So also understand this. The most easiest part of every particle is the introduction, where we just introduce the particles. So it's only the number of particles that we have to understand. And after that, the second portion, which is the association based on the suffix letter, is also quite easy. It's not very difficult. It's quite easy. When I say easy, it's a relative term relative to the usage cases. So the usage cases are the actual concept that teaches us what type of statement should be built using this type of these type of particles. So therefore, usage cases are also described in a very very detailed manner, and we're also discussing if there are some usage cases which are inferential. We are also discussing those cases with reference to the armor of speech. So it's a translation that I have come up with for the text by Pandita Smriti Gyana. So therefore, we also talk about the inferential usage cases as well as the directly stated usage cases. So in this particular case, first we don't have any inferential usage case. We only have the direct usage case, which we had discussed a little bit during the introduction. The first one is the inclusive case, and the second one is the ornamental case, and the ornamental case. And so in the next class, we will talk in detail about different variation of ornamental particles and the usage of the inclusive case. So before we do that, first we will begin with the verse of dedication to. So today we're doing it to Manjushri. So it's a alternating. It goes from Manjushri to Saraswati to Manjushri to Saraswati. So in an alternating manner. So this we already discussed. We do so in order to establish the auspiciousness and also the blessing of both the Buddha Manjushri and the Mother Saraswati, so that we can carry on these lessons without any obstacles. So today I have written a verse dedicated to Manjushri, and the translations will be sent after this. So So first, a line of dedication. So remember that in most of the lessons, I have the line of dedication, which is written at the top, and most of them are not written by me. Those are just line of dedication that I take directly from different texts. So therefore, this particular uh, line of dedication comes from the praise to Manjushri, a text which is a praise to Manjushri. So, Lama Tongkompo Jizun Chambe Yang La Cha Tselo. I prostrate to you, O Guru Manjushri, O Guru Manjushri. Jizun, which also means, which also refers to Lord. So Jizun. Champel Yang, Cham, which means the glorious, and Pel, which means the venerated or revered. Okay, so Lama Gombo Jizu Champion, I prostrate to you, O Manjushri. So now we begin the verse of dedicated to Manjushri. Tima Kunte Chambe Shirabha Kundu Shunu Kudo Seboche Yeba Reti Yoma Legbamsi. So today we are dedicating this verse especially to the Manjushri who has the form of who is the yellow Manjushri. So here we dedicate this verse to Manjushri in the incarnate and the form of the yellow Manjushri. So Timakuntel means one who is free from all stains, which is the stains of the three gates, the body, speech, and mind. Jambe Shirapla, Jambel, which means the glorious and the venerated. Shirapla means the deity or the deity of wisdom. Also one of the name of Manjushri, the deity of wisdom. Kundushunu Kudo Seboche, eternally youthful, with eternally youthful, and the body yellow in color. So the body is yellow in color. Yepa Relti, the blazing sword in the right hand. Yoma Legbamzi, and all of the teaching, the 84,000 bodies of teaching in the left hand. Jambe Serdo Gona Chatselo, I prostrate to you, O yellow Manjushri. So, and then finally, Om Manjushri Namaha. So, Manjushri Namaha, which means Om, the name of Manjushri. Okay, so with this, we begin our class today. Okay, Gindu Jajur. Inclusive and ornamental particles, association based on the suffix letters. Lekshi Jongale. Kata Pasa Chaktar Kyang. Ngana Mara Latar Yang. Hada Tame Hangda Yang. From the tree of excellent speech. Suffix letters. So first I'll just read it directly, and then I have the commentary, a little commentary on this 3 lines afterwards. So suffix letters ka, ta, pa, sa, and taktar is associated with connective particle kyang. Suffix letter nga, ta, na, ma, la. Nga, ta, na, ma, la is followed by yang. Suffix letter ha and name without any of the 10 suffix letters. So any name. So we know that when we talk about name, we already talked that name is something that has to do with the terminology, the existing terminology. So therefore, this name doesn't only mean this name doesn't only mean name as a naming word, but any name. So it could be a naming word, or it could be an action word, or it could be an ornamental word. So any of those words which does not have a suffix letter. So there are 10 suffix letter. So these words which do not have any of the 10 suffix letters are followed by or associated with hung and yang. So this is the 3 line that is from the Tree of Excellent Speech. So now we go in detail explaining this. Gendu gi te ni, gendu gi tsik te ni, te shenwa jen yin tab. Tsik te te da ni, ming tang te par, ming ki tam te da ki jenju la de ge par, te la gendu gi drajof ser. Okay, so what does this mean? Since the particles of the inclusive and ornamental case is a dependent particle, so it's a dependent particle. Therefore, these particles are associated with the name dependent on the suffix letters and known as association of particles of inclusive and ornamental case based on suffix letters, or in Tibetan, dajor. So the word dajor means association based on suffix letter because the word da means sound. So the okay, let me write it here. So the word da. Let me see if I have this. So the word da means sound. And in this particular case, and as we already discussed last year, there are 4 basic. So there are two basic classification or two classification of basic sounds, and we understood that these were the consonants and vowels. So 30 consonants and 4 vowels, and then the consonants are also classified in 4. So there are 2 types of classification. We're only going to discuss about the classification that is stated in the 30. So consonants are classified in 4: the prefix letter, the suffix letter. So let's say letters, the suffix letters, the foundation of name, the suffix letters, and post suffix letters. So all of these, the prefix letter, the foundation of name, in some translation name base, and suffix letters and post suffix letters, all of these are basic sound. So therefore we understand that the association is based, association, which is the word here is jor. Association is jor. So association is jor. So since we have the word tajor, it means association and sound. But the actual meaning becomes association based on the sound, but not any sound. Where in this particular case, we are only talking about the suffix letters, and suffix letters are a subgroup of consonants, and consonants are a subgroup of basic sound, and therefore suffix letters are basic sound. And so the classification, the association based on the sound, and not any sound, but the suffix letters. So therefore it's called dajor. The meaning that the word dajor comes from there. So it states that since the inclusive and ornamental case particles of inclusive and ornamental case is a dependent particle. So it's a dependent particle, which in Tibetan is so it's a dependent particle. So these particles associated with the name depend on the suffix letter. So these are used or associated with name. Name here in capital letters so that we don't confuse this with the naming word. So naming word normally you can use with the lowercase, whereas the name you have to use the N as an uppercase. So since the name is dependent on the suffix letter, the association of particles with the name is dependent on suffix letter. It's known as association, and so this type of this particular property or characteristic is known as association of particles on the basis of suffix letter. And in this particular case, it is particles of inclusive and ornamental case. Like we already discussed during the third grammatical case, where we talked about the association of the particles of third grammatical case based on the suffix letters. So this is called Dorje. And in this case, it's particularly Dorje of the inclusive and ornamental particles. So therefore, gendu. So we use the word gendu. Gendu ki Dorje. We can say gendu ki Dorje. So gendu ki Dorje. Gendu ki. So this is the association of the particles of inclusive and ornamental case based on suffix letters. So yes, so this is the usage case, and now now we'll discuss the meaning of these lines, these three lines. So the first line, which is Khata phasa thakthar kyang. Khata phasa thakthar kyang ni ming khang shila. Ming thar khata phasa. Thangrung yue ming thela gendun ki tsikse kyang jorgu. Tadung ming khang ki thar thadra kam yangju ta yurung tela tsikse kyang jorgu. So this means that, so very important thing that I have already said before in previous classes, but this term mingta, which refers to the end of a name. So here we must understand that this means something that comes. So a name is a combination of basic sounds. So there may be a single basic sound name, or they could be combination of different basic sounds. When they are single sound name, these are known as Mingshi Kyangbi Ming, which means a name that is solely of the foundation of name. Because any name, it doesn't matter any word in Tibetan, it must consist of foundation of name. That is why it's called foundation of name, because any word or any terminology or any name in Tibetan that you bring out, it will consist of a foundation of name. Now the prefix, the suffix, the crown letter, the footer letter, and the post suffix are all things which are added to the foundation of name, depending on the spelling. So it's not something that's mandatory, but there are combinations which includes all of that. But the foundation of name is mandatory, compulsory, without which there is no existence of terms or name. Therefore, it's called foundation of name, and it's called Mingshi. And so here, this Ming can be understood in two ways. First, Mingshi, when Ming is understood as the name, so the one that comes at the end of a name. So if it's a combination, first comes the prefix, then comes the foundation of name, and then it's followed by suffix and post-suffix letter. So both suffix and post-suffix letters are sound which comes at the end of a name. So in this particular case, we're talking about the suffix letter. when we say Mingta. This is one way of understanding this term, Mingta. Ming, which means the name, Ta, which means the edge, the end of a name. Ta also may mean the word may also be understood as the word edge, but here it means the end. Then the another way to understand this Mingta is Ming could be understood as Mingxi, which means the foundation of name, and Ta could be understood as a tail which comes after that, which follows the foundation of name. And so in that case, Mingta would refer to suffix and post-suffix letter because they tail or they follow the foundation of name in any word, any term. There's no term in Tibetan where the suffix letter comes before the foundation of name. So therefore, we can understand this in two manners. So the first was to understand it in a way that the name Ming and the ending of the name Mingta. The second was to understand Ming as foundation of name Mingxi, and Ta as the tail or following. So one that tails or follows the foundation of name. Okay, so therefore here we have Mingtar, which means at the end of a name. If Ming Kangxi, any name with this, so here we understand this as suffix letter. Kata pasa kangru yuce Ming tela gindungi tsikche kyang jorgu. Okay, so we'll so here it states that suffix letter kata pasa and taktar is associated with connective particle kyang, which means that any name with any of the suffix letter ka, ta, pasa. So this name could have any of these suffix letter ka, ta, pa, or sa. For example, let me give you an example. The word yak. So the word yak, we see that it has the suffix letter ka. So let me just highlight this. Maybe. So we see that we have the suffix letter ka. In this case, we understand that this letter, this particular name has ka as a suffix letter. And in case there is ka as a suffix letter, this particular name will be followed by the particle kyang. So therefore, similarly, if the suffix letter was either ta, pa, sa, in any case where the name has a suffix letter of ka, ta, pa, sa, we'll understand that it is associated with the inclusive and ornamental particle yang. So out of the three particles of the inclusive and ornamental case, yang is associated with names, any name with any of the suffix letter ka, ta, pa, sa. And also, if any name has post-suffix letter ta, is associated with the connective particle kyang. So any name that also has post-suffix letter ta. So the meaning of the word taktar, as you can see here, taktar, which here we have with the particle of we have this with the particle used in place of la. But the actual word is tak ta. So takta, which is also known as Yangju ta, which is also known as Yangju ta. In these, so therefore, takta or Yangju ta, Yangjuk means post-suffix letter ta. If we have any name with these, with this post suffix letter, it is followed by kyang. So chint kyang. So here we see that we have the post suffix letter ta. Let's highlight this. Therefore, it is followed by the particle kyang. So chint kyang. Chint kyang. So we use this particular. So we see that the usage is in this way because of the presence of the post suffix letter ta here. Because we have the post suffix letter ta here, it is followed by kyang. And we have already discussed this in previous classes where we said that post suffix letter ta is used in the imperative case, imperative command or imperative request. So imperative request can also have two types: imperative request as requesting someone to do something, or imperative request as an advice for someone to do something. So in those cases, we have the post suffix letter ta in the spelling. It was very prominently used during the earlier times, as there were many records there. There were many records that had to be made because of the kings at that time, and those records require commands. So therefore, these usage were very prominent at that time, and also there were other words which had more than one foundation of name, or some word that only had foundation of names in that. No prefix, no suffix, just foundation of names. But that was during the second language translation or revolution. But we know that it was later on changed as we went towards the third translation, which happened during the 11th century, and from there till almost the end of the 20th century. To that point is understood as the third language revision. And now we have the modern Tibetan language, so the modern one. It's more, in a way, it's more, it has more of a understanding to be a little chaotic, the modern Tibetan system of grammar. So which could also be understood by the writings of the books of the modern days. So especially by some of those famous Tibetan writers, such as we have in the contemporary era, we have writers such as Gyodong. And by looking at his writing, we understand that the writing system has changed quite dramatically from the end of 20th century till now. And then we have the verses, we have the poems by Drubpay and Gendu Chembe, in which we can also observe these changes happening. Okay, so getting back to our lesson, so chint has a post suffix letter ta, therefore it is followed by kyang. So that is the meaning of this line. Now the second line, it states ngata nama rala, ngata nama latar yang. Ni ming khang shila, ming thar ngata nama la, pangrung yutse, ming tela, kindun ki tsite yang jorku. So suffix letters nga, ta, nama, la is followed by yang. Any name with any of the suffix letter nga, ta, nama, la is followed by the inclusive and ornamental particle yang. So if there is a name and any name, if there's any name which has the suffix letter nga, ta, na, ma, la. Any of these 5 suffix letter, that particular name will be followed by, if it is used in the statement of inclusive or ornamental particle. So this is also something that we must emphasize, because since this is particularly the statement case of inclusive and ornamental particle, we need to emphasize greatly that it should be used in that particular manner. So if it's a statement of inclusive and ornamental case, then ngata namala, if it has the suffix ngata namala, then it will be followed by particle yang. So we see here, in this case, we see here, let's give an example. So we see that in this particular usage, we have the suffix letter nga. And since it has a suffix letter nga, this will be followed by the particle, inclusive and ornamental particle, yang. So kong, which it's a more respectable way of calling someone. So him, he or she, kong yang. So we have yang here, which is used as the inclusive or ornamental particle because of this particular suffix letter. So, and then similarly, if this particular name, any name, had any of the other 4 of these suffix letter, they would also these would also be followed by yang. Okay, so the final line, ha dang tame ang dang yang ni ming kang shila ming tar ha yu che ming te la gendu gi sik che yang dang hang chorku tadung ming kang gi tar jinchu ige me bala sik che yang dang hang chorku. So we have this word ta me. So let us go back to the word that we already discussed, ming ta. So we already know that the meaning of the word ming ta refers to the suffix letter, or in some cases also the post-suffix letter, but generally only to the suffix letter. It's called ming ta. Now we can also so the word tame, here the word ta means ming ta, and me is the negation of ming ta. This is equal to saying ming ta me. So it's same, but usually we just write tame. The correct term is tame and not ming tame. So tame, which means that a name that doesn't have suffix letter, because me is negation. So mingta is the suffix letter. Tame means negation of suffix letter. A name that doesn't have a suffix letter. Mingta. So that kind of name, which doesn't have any suffix letter, is known as tame. And it's stated here that if any word has a suffix letter ha, let me write an example. Kayang or kang. Both of these are correct. So you can either use yang or ang in this case, as we see that in both of these cases, the suffix letter is ha, and so the particle that follows it is either yang or hang. Now we have already discussed this with he and ye, that if the name will have this punctuation, it's a punctuation that divides syllable. So this punctuation, then we have to write yang. But if it is written without this punctuation, we will write hang. But the reason why we are writing it kang and not writing it ka hang is one reason because there will be repetition of hang, ha. And second one, because there will be a suffix letter, and then there will be two suffix letters. This particular nga will also be a suffix letter, which will make it difficult. Secondly, there will be two foundation of name, ka and ha. And that is the reason why we just write it as kahang. But now in this case, one may say that if that is the case, then doesn't it also contradicts, because both of these are foundation of name. But in that case, we will say that we have abbreviated this, and then this becomes the suffix letter as well as the foundation name for this particle, but it doesn't contradict this in this case. So therefore, if it contradicts so one may understand it as, if this contradicts this, then it acts as the suffix letter. If this somehow contradicts this, because this is also a suffix letter, then one may say that, oh, if this is the suffix letter, then how is it possible? Then I will say that this is the foundation of name in relation to this. This is a suffix letter in relation to this. So it's dependent from which perception you're looking. If you're looking in the perspective of this foundation of name, this will become a suffix letter. If you're looking from this perspective of this suffix letter, this will become foundation of name. So therefore, there is no contradiction here. So we understand that since it has a suffix letter ha, it can either be followed by the particle yang or hang, dependent on whether you're going to use the punctuation that separates the syllable. So ka yang or ka hang. And like I said last time, you may use both of these accordingly, dependent on for example, dependent on different scenarios. Like one of the scenario could be that you're writing a verse, and since the verse require, for example, if verse was like 11 syllable verse, and you're only able to write 10, but you need 11. But in that case, you have a choice of either using this or this. And if you use this, it will divide this into two syllable, whereas in this case, it will be considered only as one syllable. So in that case, we see that using this is more beneficial because it will count as two syllable, thus making it 11. Or in some cases, you might think that, oh, if I use it in this way, it becomes 12 syllables. So I can use it in this way and make it 11 syllable. So that is an example during the poem. If you're writing a poem or a verse. So, and similarly, in some cases, you might have been using yang many times. So it's better to use hang. In some case, you may have been using hang many times, you can use yang. And for this, and also for words which does not have any suffix letter, like sa, sang, or sayang, or sang. So we see that since sa is tame or without any suffix letter, it will be followed by hang or yang, and the rules are the same depending on whether there is the punctuation or not. Okay, so this is the meaning of this particular particular line, the third line of the verse that tells us about the association based on suffix letter. So in previous class we had just one line, and that line is a line from the text of Tree of Excellent Speech, which tells us about the different particles. And this one is these three lines are the three lines which tells us about the association based on suffix letter. So in inclusive and ornamental particles, association based on suffix letter. Jinju, which is the suffix letter, sikte, the particle. For suffix letter ka, ta, pa, sa, we have kyang, 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 and kyang. For tata or jinju, ta. For suffix ta, we have kyang. For suffix letter nga, na, ma, ra, la, we have the particle yang. And then for the suffix ha, we have hang or yang, hang and yang, depending on the usage of the punctuation. And finally, if a name doesn't have any suffix letter, it will also be associated with hang and yang, depending on the usage of the punctuation. For example, we have which means even Tashi came. So here we see that since this has the suffix letter sa, it will be followed by kyang. Similarly, we have so siring yang tirutuk. Since the suffix letter is nga, the particle that we use is yang. So hamo chinsong, even hamo went. In this case, we see that this particular name hamo doesn't have any suffix letter, so it is used. The particle uses hang, and the reason I have used hang is because there is no punctuation here. So we see the different usage cases here of these. So some examples of the usage or association of names with these suffix letter, or names without suffix letter, or with post suffix letter with their particle. Which means the arrow was also not short. Since it has the suffix ha, this will become we use yang, but this is because there is no suffix because we are using this punctuation here. Which means even Seville is learning Tibetan. So since we have the suffix letter la here, it is followed by yang. So these are examples, some of the examples of the association based on suffix letter. Okay, so so this is the description of this particular verse. So whenever we refer to these three lines, one must refer these as the lines which shows the association of the inclusive and ornamental particles on the basis of suffix letter. These three lines. Yesterday, the line which we did, not yesterday, previous class, is the line that shows the particle of inclusive and ornamental case. Okay, so this is the association and this is the explanation. So before I read the verse of dedication, if anyone has question, I will take 3 questions today, if anyone has questions regarding today's lesson. So like I said in the previous few classes, the thing is that I'm trying to shorten or I'm trying to make the amount of portion that we complete each class less, so that we can have more time to revise all of this. So that's the reason why I've shortened it. So that's the reason. So therefore, normally, if it was like previous year, we would have already been done with the inclusive case, because we would have been discussing almost everything as much as possible. But thinking, since we already have time, I thought that we should finish the portion in as much detail and give everyone as like ample amount of time to contemplate on what is being taught in the class, so that you can have like a revision time, so that there won't be too much information per class. So this is the class for today. Before I read the verse of dedication, those who have question, I will take question now. So if anyone has question regarding today's lesson, please ask. Yang Te Tse. This yang is also this. Yes, Yang Te Tse. This is also the similar particle. But here you see that it's quite but here it's used in a very special manner. So this is the same thing that is in the Heart Sutra, where there's Yan Te Tse, Shen Sema Semba Chambu. So here we see that yang here is used more in the context of being a conjunction, rather than inclusive or ornamental particle. So it's used as a conjunction, which is one of the usage. But this usage is more like a usage which is not directly shown there, but it's still included in the inclusive case. Not much, not very apparently, but still it is used there. So it is inclusive case. But yes, in this case, we may see that this is used in a very special manner, that it doesn't require any association with a name, that it can be used as the at the beginning of a sentence and then act as an inclusive particle. So this is a special case in this case. And yes, this is the same particle, yang. Also, yes, it's also, it could also be understood as also. Lasso. So, lasso, thank you. Any more questions? Okay, so then if those of you who might have questions later on, please post them in the group. I will try to answer them as soon as possible. And for those of you whose questions have not been answered, I will answer them when as soon as possible. So thank you for the patience. And so let me just read the dedication now. Okay, so Kewa di program semchen na sherab reti mumba rap se ne sherab hai goban yo tomne sherab time sala kyobar show. So by the power of the merits accumulated here, may all the sentient beings uh, be in the light. May all the sentient beings uh, with the blazing sword of wisdom, cutting through their ignorance, attain the state of the deity of wisdom, that is of Manjushri, and uh, may all of the sentient beings, including self, be delivered to the pure land of Vimala. And so the last line of dedication is Om Guru Sarvagyana. So Om Guru, who is omniscient. So I will send the translation with the in the PDF, and both in PDF and PowerPoint. I'll send the translations. So please make sure that you check the translation, and I'll send the materials will be sent soon, and the either tomorrow or day after tomorrow. So before we end this the usual confession. So I apologize to the Buddhas of 3 times and the mother sentient beings for the delay in attaining enlightenment, and I apologize to the mother sentient beings, the Buddhas of 3 times, and especially to every one of you precious students for delivering such a wonderful teaching in my imperfect speech. And this is due to my incompetence, which I shall work on and take this as an inspiration to further uh, improve myself, and soon may all of us attain the complete enlightenment and wonderfully teach all of these teaching in the most perfect speech to all the sentient beings who require this teaching. So thank you very much, Tujeche, and those of you who are joining me for the uh, Dharma vocabulary class, I will see you day after tomorrow on Wednesday. Those who are joining me for grammar class, I will see you on Friday. So therefore, thank you very much for your wonderful commitment and enthusiasm for this language. And Tashitale to everyone, and thank you.